So before we begin with the question, let me introduce myself briefly. So I'm Ann Richard B. Soriano, and I'm currently taking Bachelor of Science in Psychology here in Jose Rizal University. So without further ado, let's answer the question in which is still debatable as of the moment. So let's first discuss what is psychology. So, psychology may be deconstructed into its Greek root terms. So, psyche is a Greek word that means mind or soul, and the Greek word logos translate as the study of. So, when it is combined together, the study of psychology is concerned with mental processes and human behavior. Psychology will either be classified as a social science or a natural science depending on your point of view. There is a strong empirical basis of psychology as a scientific discipline. In contrast, depending solely on logic or theory, empirical evidence can be backed and validated by observation and experience. Psychologists can learn about human behavior and thought through empirical facts. Psychologists can only gain a greater understanding of the mind through activities, as the mind cannot be directly viewed. So there are leverages in psychology that will be discussed here in this video. So the first one is reasoning, in which is to analyze and develop psychological studies and phenomena. Psychologists rely on scientific reasoning, which is based on empirical evidence. Second is discipline. The scientific method is at the heart of psychological research. Psychologists perform investigations and make contributions to research that are supported by empirical evidence. Third is research. Psychologists, like traditional scientists, employ quantitative and qualitative research methods to gather information that is used to conduct analysis and develop conclusions. So the last one is application. Students who want to work as psychologists in the real world need to get a master's or doctoral degree in psychology. For most part, a psychologist will need a PhD to practice their profession. An important part of this advanced training will be the development of research skills as well as in-depth understanding of the scientific process and how to put that knowledge into use. So in order to fully understand science, here's what I have gathered and searched on as to what are the characteristics of science. So the first one is objectivity. Researchers must stay neutral and unbiased when conducting any study. They cannot let their own emotions and sentiments join process. Additionally, while prejudice cannot always be eliminated, it must be minimized to the greatest extent possible. A fundamental principle of science is that. Next one is empirical evidence. Experiments and observations are used to gather evidence. Again, there is no room for belief here. Other researchers might check the veracity and process of the data collection by attentively recording the information. The third one is control. Variables must be controlled in order to derive cause and effect. So the next one is hypothesis testing. An observation is made at the beginning of the process. Once a hypothesis is developed, it is tested to see if it holds up in the real world. This hypothesis needs to be expressed properly and then tested in a scientific manner. And the last one is replication. Experiments designed by the scientists need to be repeatable so that the same conclusions may be drawn with different variables. There can be a scientific hypothesis or discovery created when the same results are obtained under the same condition again throughout time. So, most colleges classify psychology as a social science. Science subject when it comes to undergraduate studies. Social science approaches are used to investigate human behavior, development, emotion as a student. Some areas of psychology correspond more closely hard science than others, depending on the specialization you choose. Psychological fields such as neuropsychology and biological psychology, on the other hand, are more closely tied to physics. As you may have suspected, social psychology is intimately related to the social sciences. Regardless of how you look at the question, is psychology a science? Is the correct response. Psychology is viewed as a hard science by some, while a social science by others. Whichever way you decide to classify the subject matter, there are numerous subfields and career options to consider. And that's all. Thank you.